Everybody, it's Jeannie at Richland Sewing Center, and I'm going to try a new trick with my phone today, but hang on. I hope everybody had a super July 4th weekend. I know I did at 7:30 on the 4th of July, which was Saturday, and we were closed on that day for the holiday. I was in the saddle on my horse at that time. I would like to say that it was cool and breezy, but it wasn't. It was still really hot, but it wasn't nearly as hot as it was later in the day. So Ranger and I had a super ride. I rode for about an hour and a half. And of course, when I was done, I was nice and sweaty. And so Ranger and I both had a bath, but not together. So, but it was fun. And then the neatest thing is later in the day on Saturday, on the 4th, they announced the flyover of the bombers, and ours were from Fort Worth. And so they gave a separate schedule for every town in the area. So it told you exactly when the flyover was going to happen. So I went out in the middle of, we live on a cul-de-sac. So I went out in the middle of the cul-de-sac because that's where there's no trees blocking the view. And several other neighbors came out too. We were due at 6:31. And at 6:30, we said, here they come. We could hear them. And the 4 bombers flew right over the top of our cul-de-sac. And I know that may sound silly to some of you, but it was so neat to have them right over. I don't think they could see us waving, but it was really fun. So it made for a nice weekend. And then Sunday after church, we had a brand new minister at our church on Sunday. So that was kind of exciting, and it was a lot of fun. We're really welcoming the new minister to our church. And then the rest of the day, I was just darn lazy. I ironed, I watched movies, I turned on Hallmark. But it was a good day. So we're back at work today, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this border that I have been working on and show you the second border that I'm working on that's from the same design. I'm going to try and put my phone in this little holder here, so bear with me for just a moment, okay? I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to try and put this in this holder. So you need to tell me if you can see what I'm doing. Here's my hand, because actually I can't see my phone at this point because of the holder. But anyway, what I wanted to show you, when I went to quilt this, the layers that we're making this table runner are already quilted. So these pieces are quilted. And then there's another piece of batting as well as a backing underneath that. So then I needed to do some quilting to hold everything together. And if I tried to do that with this foot, there's a deep dent here where all those layers are. And this is that consideration that I was talking about. Do I use ecru thread, or do I use green thread, or whatever? So it just was not going to be easy to do that with that foot. So I went and got what's one of my favorite feet, which is a stitch in the ditch foot. And if you can see it, there's a little guide in the middle. So I'm going to poke that on here. Now this is already stitched, but I'm going to put the presser foot down, and the foot just rests right in that groove, which makes it super easy to do this. Now, this is a lot thicker, and the groove is a lot deeper than it would be on a regular pieced quilt. So I'm going to move this back. I'm going to push that back over there and bring this up here. And somebody send up a heart if you think you can see what I'm doing. Please. I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I still have that foot on, and this particular thing is just two pieces of fabric sewn together with the seam pressed to one side, which is what we do a lot for quilting. So if I put this down now, I can guide that right along that, what we call the ditch. The problem is, if I run my finger here, there's 3 layers of fabric. Thank you. So you must be able to see. Over here, there are 3 layers of fabric. Over here, there's just 1 because I pushed the seam allowance to one side. So if I try and stitch in the ditch, even with this foot, it's a little bit tricky. Oh, I'm going backwards. Because of course, I have red thread in here right now. I'm going to turn this so you can see what I did. So you can see the thread. It's in the groove, but because it's higher on one side than the other, it makes it a little bit harder to do. Now this piece has the seam pressed open, which a lot of us don't do very often when we're quilting, because if you take my class, I tell you not to do that. But this foot is amazing. Even if you're not doing in the ditch, it really helps guide you along. So I'm going to pick a different stitch here. I'm going to go to a different menu on the machine. I'm going to go to the quilting menu, and I'm going to choose what I call a serpentine stitch, which is kind of a curvy one. Let me make this not quite as wide, and let's see how that does. Now I'm using that little guide to, you know what, this is going side motion. I don't want to do that one. That's not going to work because it's going too far. Let me pick a softer one. Hold on a second here. Every stitch we have has a lot of adjustments. So here we go. Now see, my needle is jumping back and forth, but that little guide is staying right in the seam where I'm sewing, and that makes it so even though the guide's not what I call in the ditch, this is still considered in the ditch piecing, because look, it goes over the top of the seam, it holds everything flat. Now if I bring this one over, this is the one that has the open seam, I'm going to put that in the ditch, and this time I'm going to choose the feather stitch. I know a lot of you have used this. I'm going to bring it down a little bit and make it a little bit longer. Again, I'm using that guide on the foot. I'm keeping that right in the middle. And you know this is going back and forth a little bit. We actually have another feather stitch that just stitches on each side. Let's just see this one too. I love this one. This is a great way. It's considered in the ditch quilting because what you're doing, I'm going to cut this, she says. Let me hit the right button. I keep jumping around on machines, so sometimes I get confused. So see, this is holding that down. It is totally in the ditch. So it's a beautiful quilting. You could go all the way around a block with that. Same as with this serpentine. I don't know if you can see it. I did it in red, hoping you could see. That holds that seam really flat, so you don't have to turn all the blocks so much under the quilt. If you even did cross hatching, which would be the big long lines, you could use either one of those stitches. The key is this foot. So I'm going to take this out of this holder, maybe. Let me see if I can not mess up my phone. Okay, now I'm holding the phone in my hand. But these are the feet. The one I have on right now is on the Viking. And see, it's called an edge joining foot. Let me back up so you can kind of see that. And it's got that little key. So here's another one. This one's called the stitch in the ditch foot. This is the brother foot. And I know you probably can't see it, but there's a guide right in the middle. Can you kind of see it from the side? That sits right in the groove. This is a Janome foot. Same thing. I think you can see it. It's called a ditch quilting foot. And then if you're doing your quilting with a walking foot or the move it foot or anything like that, a lot of those have changeable feet. This is a box that has the feet that go on the dynamic moving foot for the brother, the dynamic walking foot. And see, there's one for a 1/4 inch setting, and there's that one, I don't know if you can see it, that has the blade in the middle. So that works out really super. So if you want to use your walking foot and still do this, it helps you keep it in the middle. Now, if you don't have a foot that has that guide, sometimes there's a blind hem foot that some of you got with your machine that you can kind of substitute for that. And if you take the brother foot class I'm doing this quarter, that might help you get acquainted with that one. Okay, so I'm trying to make it easier for you to get that done without driving yourself crazy. Because if you try and just use a regular foot and sew, that would be like with this one, just the regular foot, you just can't keep that needle right in there. And then if you go to a different color, like if you have a patchwork program and you go from red fabric to green fabric, then what are you going to do? Because that thread really is going to show, kind of like what I did right there. So maybe that'll help. I I hope somebody. Now, my runner is finished. It's back here. I've got it folded up behind there. This is the same class I'm doing, which is an embroidered quilt, and this is going to be just a wall hanging. Now, these blocks are 8 inches. The ones I did on the runner are 10 inches. Now, I'm not done. I've got the 3 blocks embroidered, and I've got them sewn together with a little bit of a sashing in between. I'm going to put a flange around, so it's going to look kind of like that. That's just laying there right now. And then I'm going to put the borders around this, and then I'll do a little bit of quilting, probably with that foot, because I'll put some, I may put another layer of batting underneath here, and then a backing layer. So it's going to be really fun. Okay. Now, speaking of fun, I'm going to come over here because we just got this fabric in today, and it should have said Dear Jeannie on the box. Look at this. I've got sheep. I've got 2 beautiful horses, and it's funny, those horses are almost the same color as my horses. I've got piggies, I've got chickens, I've got a rooster, and I've got a mama and baby calf. So we also have like 6 other fabrics, 5 or 6, that go with that fabric. So there's a whole bunch. I'll try and show you those tomorrow because I think that'll be fun. So, and then of course, I don't know if you're like me, my attention span just goes crazy when we get something new, because I've got this Thanksgiving row quilt from Lori Holt, and I've picked out some fabrics that we have over there to get started because I want to do a turkey block before Duck Club. And then of course we have this one which goes with it, and there's the fat quarter bundle. So I'm just excited to do this, but I'm going to finish what I'm doing first, maybe. So this week we have the annex is rented tomorrow. I don't know what. No, maybe it's not. It's not rented till next week. And Wednesday it's rented. Machine Basics is the class. If you don't know much about your machine, not sure how to wind a bobbin, how to thread it, how to change the settings, those kind of things, that's the class to come to. And it can be any machine. Doesn't have to be new, doesn't have to come from here or anything. But and that class is really a lot of fun. I usually have Doug come and work with me on that class too, depending on how many people come. And then Friday and Saturday we have Duck Club, which I'm always excited about that. I missed everybody last weekend, but I did have the fighter jets, so that was fun. And then One Block Wonder, and that's what that quilt is on Saturday. That starts at 12 o'clock on Saturday. So hopefully that will make a little bit of sense. Oh, I'm getting some hearts. I'm glad I'm getting hearts. Thank you so much. So I've got errands to run today. We've got church activities this week, too. I'm trying to get a lot done. It really looks like a bomb blew up in here because I have fabric and thread and batting everywhere. I have 3 machines in here right now that I'm using, plus a serger. My embroidery machine has been working really hard on the embroidered projects. And then the one I was just showing you was I have the Viking machine over there. I have another one sitting here also. But it's really kind of fun. I've got this whole room. But I miss everybody. So come see us. The Patriotic Fabric is on sale all this week, and that includes the patriotic panels. So don't miss out on that sale. Okay? So I will see you soon. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, y'all. Bye.